Hi guys, this is my first video of a few. I'm going to be answering all the questions you have in regards to my racing career. I thought there'd be no better way to sort of set up a little platform like this where I can answer a lot of your questions. I know you guys have had a lot for me over the years, from right back when I started to when I finished. So I thought I would open up and tell you guys everything that you want to know. I will be answering honestly, truthfully, opening myself up and just kind of getting you guys a bit of an insight into my racing career and what was, and I hope you guys enjoy. This will be sort of part one of a few, as there are lots and lots of questions, so let's get started. So one of the questions that I have here is, what age did you start racing? So I actually started go-karting, I think I had just turned 12, so I'm pretty sure I managed to convince my dad to get me a go-kart for my 12th birthday, and pretty much took about a year of me just practicing and running around the Gold Coast go-kart track at the time, and just getting confident. And then it got to the point where a lot of people were actually saying that I was doing quite well for a young girl, and then yeah, I eventually got into racing. So I was about 12 years old when I sort of started go-karts and then eventually started racing. All right, so the next question is thoughts on karts. So that's where it all started for me personally. It's where it starts for mostly a lot of people. I loved go-karting. That was like some of the best years I ever had. I made some really good friends. I made some really good memories. The joy of being able to travel too. Like, I traveled all over Australia. I was so lucky that I had a dad and a mechanic that were able to actually take me around. I loved it. I got to see the country. I made heaps of friends all over Australia in different states. And then you got to experience all the different tracks as well. So I loved it. I highly recommend it. I think it's definitely made me into the person I am today. I had to mature really quickly. I was racing against a lot of older people, and I was around a lot of older people as well. So it was really enjoyable, and the racing is lots of fun. Like, I was super competitive. I'm still friends with a lot of the people that I used to race against as well. I still stay in contact with a lot of people. It has changed a lot in the last couple of years from my understanding. I've sort of come and gone and watched a few races. It has got a lot more competitive and a little bit more expensive, but it is so much fun. I think every day I should probably buy another go-kart again, but I want to save myself the money. So I love go-karting. If you're definitely thinking of getting into it, I would highly recommend it. What junior categories did you race in before getting into V8s? So that's a good one. I did go-karting, obviously. And then from go-karts, believe it or not, I was probably one of like only people ever in the history of ever to go straight from go-karts into Porsche. So I actually didn't race anything in between. I had to do like 3 races or something to get like a national license at the time. So I didn't even have my CAMS license when I told the world that I was going to be racing in Porsche, believe it or not. I hadn't even driven like the car. Didn't even have a CAMS license. That's how like crazy that was. So I had to do, because I had an international go-kart license, because I was meant to be going to the world titles, which I didn't end up going to because I didn't get enough points in the last race, but I had already had to pre-apply because there was a waiting period. So because I actually already had one, that meant that CAMS would waiver a few of the other things, and I just had to do 3 races. So I did like 2 Aussie racing car races, and then I was only meant to do 2 or 3, but I did an extra, and I did 2 like Formula Ford races, and that was it. And then I got given my CAMS license and signed off and everything, and then I literally, like that couple months later, I went to Adelaide and raced Porsche. So my junior career was about 6 years in go-karting and a few races here and there and 1 or 2 other things, and then I went straight into Porsche. So how did you get into it? I could probably do like a whole series just on like how I started, but basically, long story short, I went go-karting with my dad at Hamilton Island. We were on a family holiday at the time. It was like Christmas time. I hate heights, so I'm pretty sure my sister and my mum went like paragliding, and I was like not having it. I did not want to go paragliding or be in the water or on the ocean. So my dad said, we'll go find something else to do. Anyway, we got a pamphlet thingy, and it said that there was a go-kart track, so we went there. And I first of all hopped in the go-kart with my dad, then there was no one else on the track, so the guy actually said if he wanted me to go by myself. And I think I was about, you had to be like 13 and I was 11 or just about to turn 12 at the time, so the guy let me go by myself. Anyway, I went by myself and I come back in and the guy's just like, wow, like you did like really good. Like my lap time was really fast apparently. I don't know if he was telling me the truth or not, but he said that I was really quick. Anyway, my dad thought it'd be funny. He's like, let's like go out and race together and like see if you can keep up with me. Sure enough, we went out and turns out I was actually faster than my dad, overtook my dad. And yeah, came back in and the guys were like really, like the guys who were there, they were saying like I was doing really well for a young girl. Not many girls would go out by themselves like that, let alone overtake people and all that sort of stuff. So that's pretty much what started it. Came back from the holiday and I was like hooked. I went to Kingston Park Raceway. I was Googling like go-karts. I remember like finding them on the internet and printing them out and like leaving them on my dad's desk and like highlighting the price and saying that I wanted it for like a Christmas birthday present. So that's what I did, and then eventually a couple months later I actually ended up getting a go-kart, so I was pretty lucky. So that's sort of how it all started, believe it or not. Really random, but everyone kept telling me I was good, so I thought I'd keep doing it. Someone's asking if you had your time again, would you do it differently? Yeah, probably. I would have liked to have done something in between. I would have liked to done like Formula Ford or something like that. I would have liked to have done like a step up, a category that was in the middle. When I started at the time, CAMS had just dumped Formula Ford, so they were no longer like a support category. I had Fujitsu wanting to support me because they had also sponsored me in go-karting, so they wanted to make me step up as well, and they were willing to, but they didn't want to do it in a category that wasn't going to be on TV and didn't have, you know, some certain requirements, obviously, because they need to see the investment. So they really just had one or two options. And the best option for me at the time, believe it or not, was Porsche. And I didn't want to say no to Fujitsu because they weren't willing to sponsor me again in go-karting. So I was sort of at the point where I had to like sort of just take it and do it. So I do wish that I did like a year of Formula Ford, or I don't even know what was around at that time because I was literally just didn't even know V8s existed then either. So I just wish that I knew that I needed to do something before I moved up into Porsche. Racing series you wished you raced in, so yeah, probably like Formula Ford or something else. I wish I did Carrera Cup for a year longer than what I did as well, because I was so fresh into it when I first started. I really, like, I should have done like 4 or 5 years, and I don't think I was ready to move into supercars, but again, opportunity and the people and everything that happened, it basically was the option that I had, so I had to take it. So that's probably one thing that I do wish that I did as well, is I think I needed about a 4th or 5th year in Carrera Cup. I definitely felt at the end of the last year in Carrera Cup, the 3rd year, I was like, damn, I'm like just starting to get a hold of this. So yeah, I probably, 4 years. I think the year after, if I didn't go to V8s and stayed in Carrera Cup, I think it would have been a good year for me. Which category did you enjoy the most? I don't really know, like, I don't know, it was all fun. I had an equal amount in both. So I did 3 years in Porsche and 3 years in supercars. I just did more in supercars, obviously, with Bathurst and everything. So I think I enjoyed both of them. I like Porsche because it's a lot like chiller and more relaxed, and there was a lot of like gentleman drivers, and they were quite fun, and they all looked after me, and just like the catering tent and stuff like that in Porsche, that is really good. In V8 supercars, you don't get that unless you're like in the main series and you got to pay for it. So the benefit of Porsche is that as part of being a part of it, you get access to that. So that was really good, just to eat the good food and be in air conditioning. That was a bonus. But I think I enjoyed all of them. They all had their highs and lows. I mean, and I spent the same time in both of them, so I probably don't have a favorite as such. Any major regret with racing? So yeah, wishing I did something else, probably stayed another year in Porsche, wishing I did Formula Ford. They're probably like the biggest things that I feel like I should have done, definitely. But unfortunately, opportunity is opportunity, and I didn't want to turn it down. Someone asked, what's the best or worst part about racing? So that's a hard one to answer. It's sort of like anything. It's like, what's the best part and worst part of like your job? There's pros and cons to everything. I think I had a very different racing career to a lot of other people who are out there too. Like for me, like my racing, like when it came to a race weekend, it was literally like 1% of what I did. Like I literally would rock up on a Thursday and I would have that much stuff to do. It wasn't funny, like media and all that crap that I had to do, photos and just all that rubbish. Most of the time I never really got to help my teams like set up because I was never really around. I was always quite busy. And then I think, I had to just constantly do all that stuff, and I sort of liked it in the beginning and then I stopped liking it because it was really annoying. So, I mean, I think best and worst for me would be different for a lot of people. But yeah, eventually like all the media stuff and like the exposure and stuff that I was getting took focus away from the racing. So that's probably like one of the worst things is I was literally just there for racing. Like if you talked to 12-year-old Renee, she would have literally just told you that all she wants to do is race and go as fast as she can and beat boys. She didn't want to be in front of a camera. She didn't want to have photos taken. Like I was self-conscious. I still am self-conscious, let me tell you. So a lot of people think that I like being in front of television and like getting all the attention. I don't. It just happened because I got long hair and tits. Everybody was drawn to me naturally. So I don't like the attention. I didn't like doing the press releases. I didn't like being the center of attention and having microphones shoved in my face every 2 seconds. It was just a part of it, unfortunately. And I put up with it and I learned to be good at it, and I sort of made it into a strength of mine because I figured I'm getting the attention no one else is, so it's a bonus and a benefit, but doesn't necessarily mean I enjoyed it. What was the highlight of your racing career? Yeah. I don't even know. Everyone just thinks Bathurst because it was so big. Probably Bathurst, I don't know. It was probably the biggest thing. That's what made me like where I am today, I guess. So I would say Bathurst just because like we did it and no one else has done it since Simona and I did it. So we made history. So probably that.